Do you want to get stuck into World War II tabletop gaming? If so, this could be your week. We've got a copy of the excellent bolt action starter set Band of Brothers from our OnTableTop store, and we're going to be giving it away. One lucky viewer who likes the video, subscribes to the YouTube channel, and comments on this video down below is going to walk away with an excellent set. It's got everything you need to get stuck in. It's got a rule book, it's got tokens, it's got dice, it's even got some terrain, not to mention the German army and the US paratroopers. And if you're already into bolt action, stay tuned to the news section where we're going to be taking a look at the new releases. The weekend starts now. Hey peeps, welcome to the Weekender. I'm Lloyd, and this week I'm joined by Gerry and Ming the Merciless.
I have returned from exile.
Otherwise known as Justin. Hello, Justin.
Yeah, the beard is getting a little bit Ming right now.
As long as it's just Ming and not Minging, you're fine.
Well, you have to care for it. You have to wash it, condition it, keep it nice and soft and fluffy.
So you say. I don't. I very much feature the roll in, roll out. The only reason it's looking particularly trimmed at the moment is I had difficulty putting a mask on when I went shopping last week, so I had to sort of rein it in a bit. Let's put it like that.
Take the clippers out.
No, it's harsh, very harsh, because I'm low maintenance normally.
I'll tell you what, Justin, it's looking very symmetrical. How did you get the grey to be so lined up either side?
It's actually grey all the way across the bottom. He's just drawn that bit in.
I don't know. It just seems to have balanced out as last while. I know I am going a lot grayer now.
Let's get stuck into the show. If you've just discovered it for the first time, it's not actually a show about discussing beards. It's a show about discussing hobby and lots of
tiny
toys,
fighting men,
tiny fighters. Yes. So this week, fellas, let's get stuck into it. I think we want to highlight a couple of things that went out through the YouTube channel this week or on the website.
Both the YouTubes and the websites. So talking of wee men's, I sat down with Nick Wright from Irregular Wars and talked to him about Fantastic Battles, which is it's a figure agnostic game. So it's about playing out massed fantasy battles or historics. Actually, the system works beautifully for both on the tabletop. There's an awful lot of 10 mil stuff in it, including some from Patreon 3D printer that we're going to be looking at later on. But the system itself actually lets you play everything from 6 mil to 32 mil, depending on your point of view. You can just slap them down on the tabletop, base them in the correct way to suit you and your friends and get gaming. So it's an incredibly flexible system, and it was great chatting to somebody who is a local up your neck of the woods around Coleraine direction.
So that's Northern Ireland for anybody who's wondering.
Yeah, Northern Ireland. So it's nice to actually see somebody local getting out there. It's his 10th rule system that he's done. So a lot of them have been done for Song of Blade and Heroes, but then he also has Conflict at the World's End for doing sort of Elizabethan era fighting. If you want to do your British against Irish, or if you want to do your Aztecs against conquistadors, that works as well. So it's a fascinating journey with Nick through the Fantastic Battles.
Cool.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to actually edit this one, and there are some really, really interesting components to the game. One of them being like the tropes for the different races.
Factions, the way you build your race. There are, I think, 7 distinct stat lines in the game. So cavalry, infantry, or not even cavalry, infantry, elite infantry, dungers, monsters, artillery, and then there's like 40 or 50 traits that you can then layer on. So if you want to turn that elite infantry into dwarven elite infantry, then maybe you make them a bit more resilient, you make them less prone to running away, harder to fight against. Or if you want to make them goblins, you take the exact same stat line, and then maybe you start giving them things like they're more likely to run away, they're a bit worse at fighting, or you might want to stick them on top of some spiders. So it's entirely up to you how you build your forces for it. So if you have miniatures already, you can use this set. So it's that flexible. There's nothing that you cannot do.
Cool. That was the first thing.
So that was the first thing. Then I also got a chance to dive into Brutality by Scott Wainwright. So I've done a sort of deep dive of my first impressions. I've been reading it extensively for a couple of months now.
This is an article, is it?
This is an article on the website, and it is about a skirmish war game that is figure agnostic, but not generic. So there are a lot of games out there that say you can use whatever figures you want because it's just an open world, and then you go, oh, I want my world to be this, or I want to play that, and therefore my elves are actually macadamian elves, and I've got something from 40k that I want to tie in, and you build this world yourself. This throws all of that away. This is a goddess from ancient Sumeria, has got annoyed that she's been forgotten about and managed to steal some people and drop them into the brutal realm of her own devising.
Is that this island-looking place?
That is this island-looking place. And the way it works is, over time, these people fight, die, and reborn all the time, trapped perpetually in this realm. And in that, she starts to gain more power. And as she gains more power, she pulls more people in. So you can have people from any background, any race you want, including robots, because sometimes she's a 6,000-year-old deity and she doesn't really understand what AI is.
Like this guy's a bit of a cyborg.
Yeah, so occasionally she'll grab people that she thinks may be good to come and worship her, and it turns out they're actually robots. So he's developed a very intricate world that explains why you can have infinity figures fighting ancient Greeks, fighting space marines, or whatever you happen to have lying around, and they all work in the context of it. They all work together. And the campaign system is interesting as well, because it is a magical realm. When you're playing and you're fighting and you lose people, in a lot of games, when you're playing a campaign, you have little rolls at the end going, well, did they actually die, or are they just injured? Whereas in this, you go, no, they're dead. But the minute somebody dies, they wake up in the last place they slept with all the stuff they had. It's just the way it goes. It's like a reset button, because as a goddess, you don't want to lose your only worshippers. So she just resets them. It's a fascinating idea and a concept for a skirmish war game, and there's an awful lot to get stuck into. It's a very simple system. There's a lot of meat on the bones. Really like it.
It feels like one you could probably do a lot of kit bashing for, different miniatures and stuff if you want to really go custom.
Oh yeah, literally the world is your oyster, and while there's a fair bit in the book, it's a relatively small book, so things are not fleshed out. But you get factions, you get realms, you get lands that you can explore. And if you want to start adding in your own layers on top of that, you can. But he's got a very active community on Facebook. And recently he's been posting things like the brutal realms. So there are 7 realms listed in the book, like the Fleshlands, which is actually a wizard who threatened and fought against the goddess, and when she beat him, she stretched him over the entire area, hammered him to the ground, and left him there immortal and in perpetual agony. So it is literally a fleshland. But all of these places have like a little half-page paragraph and rules for game setting, but he's going back and adding to these. So the first one, the Psychotropics, has got a 20-page extended rough guide to the lands, and he's going to do this for all of them. So the game itself is more than enough to be getting on with, but if you want to explore more of his ideas behind it, he is layering these things on top.
Cool.
So it's fascinating.
Cool.
If I look close enough, will I find the airplane from Lost?
Probably. Everything else is there.
I love maps like this because there's so many different little things to see.
There, if you go to bottom left, that is there's a little island off the coast, which is the Psychotropics, and it is a realm that, like a psychotropic drug, it's not a place you want to be wandering about in, because things go badly wrong on occasions.
That's cool.
Don't drink the water, don't eat the plants, just stay away from it.
So what, don't talk to the locals?
No, none of that.
Does she pull in buildings and stuff as well? Because I see pyramids and standing stones and things like this.
Some people have been there for a long time and have started to build their own nations, and a lot of people are, they know gods exist because one has picked them up, so they do worship them to a greater or lesser extent. Also, occasionally, maybe somebody's living in an area where there is no food, and if you're particularly nice, maybe Ishtar will drop a load of food on you in your settlement because she is a kindly god. She's not really; she's a terrible god, but yeah, it's mostly people, but they do come across with whatever they were in contact with at the time. So occasionally you'll get vehicles can turn up, but then we'll soon run out of puff. The Zenith are my favorite faction, which is just made up of people who can fly. Whether they have jetpacks, wings, or magic, they built their own castle in the clouds, so to speak, and they look down on everybody who can't fly because they're all lesser. It's like, look at all these people here walking with their feet. Terrible. And that's a weird, but it shows how a warband can come together. It doesn't have to be a cohesive group of miniatures from the same game. They just have a theme that they've all slipped the bonds of Earth and therefore better than everybody else.
Does that mean it's like, but can the creatures come from like the past, other planets, things like that? Because we're about to move into an Indie of the Week, which might be really cool for populating a world like that.
Yes. They can come from anywhere and everywhere. Any mortal from anywhere in history and time and space can be pulled in. So indeed, anybody from the Krakon games can be dropped right into the middle of the Brutal Realm to fight it out.
Sweet. Well, with that in mind, it is time for Indie of the Week. Gerry, what have we got this week, mate?
Well, I've gone all old school again because it is my want in life. And
like old things, boo.
I do like old things. Old things are great. Stop booing me. You know I'm right. Krakon Games is a cracking little company who produce a range of fantasy and sci-fi 28mm miniatures. But it's when you start to explore the range that they have, you start to see some of the weird and esoteric things that you may not see as often or at all from some places.
Let's see what we've got then.
They have a couple of different sort of subcategories in the shop. They've Axe Grind, which is sort of fantasy. Star Grind, will not surprise you, is sci-fi. And then Creatures of the Night and Underground are just sort of subcategories. You'll find a lot of those will actually appear in other places anyway. But
so we start with Axe Grind then.
Start with Axe Grind. Now, see right at the very, very, very first one there, the Bog Folk.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen the TV show Trapdoor from the 80s with
Don't
Bert,
go down there.
Don't go into that trapdoor. We'll recognize some of these people. And I was like, why have I never seen these before? As far as little minions, critters and things for fantasy games go, they're just so adorably cute. And I can imagine Bert chasing after these, trying to feed his master upstairs. But yeah, it's a unusual set. The Lich Sentinels, who obviously sit on a flying stand and float around the place like the heads of resurrected beholders, I imagine. Mm-hmm. No longer with the rest of us. But the Boggles box is just great because there's essentially Boney, not Bert, but Dirk, big slug, little slug struts. They're just so cute. So incredibly cute. And if anybody remembers Trapdoor, there's a set waiting for a game to be written for it, really. You've got mixes of various types of fantasy tropes. The Axe Grind are turtles, I think they are in D&D. Yep. So you've essentially got a load of snapping turtles kicking around. And it makes sense that they're called shieldkin because in Scandinavian, turtles are called whelpada.
Yeah.
Which means shield toads. So that makes perfect sense to me. And again, they're adorable. They're adorable little things. Imagine a bunch of them coming at you like Cleopatra down the street with a variety of weaponry. Ideal for people playing skirmish games like Brutality if you want to start adding things in, like Wandering Monsters and the like, or just doing a weird warband. But also very good if people are playing D&D incorrectly with miniatures, then they can do that. Fomorians is one of the biggest races, and definitely worth having a look up because I know obviously Warren's a big fan of his Fomir, but this you can do a full-on army of Fomorian raiders. You know,
this is the shit right here.
It is possibly the most comprehensive range I've ever seen. You know, if you need two-handed weapons or hand weapons and shields, whatever you want, they're in there in a big, big way. And they're terrific bug-eyed things coming out of the swamp.
This is what I'm talking about. Who wouldn't want an army of femurs, for goodness sakes? They were definitely the best thing in the HeroQuest box.
Yeah.
So disappointed that they're not in that remake of HeroQuest, are they?
No, they're not. They've replaced them with something else, something worse than a Fomorian.
How can you take the best creature out of the game, for goodness sakes?
Well, the way I'd take them out is with a pointed stick and blind them in their one eye and then run off while they're staggering around. You only need one good strike and then you can get out of there.
So what, you wouldn't use like a small hand crossbow, just stay out of range?
Well, you know, if you think you can hit it before you have to try and reload, go for it. That's also very good. They do a set of just heads, which I think are scaled towards more 28mm rather than being big ogre sort of sized monsters. So interesting possibilities in this little indie as well, just for unique pieces for conversions and kit bashing.
Yeah.
Because when was the last time you seen, you know, you take a set of orcs and stick a bunch of cyclopean eyes on them and you've got a whole other race. You know, they're not femurs, they're not orcs, they're something unique to you and very different. Or even sticking them onto Chaos Space Marines if you want to Nurglify or change your Death Guard up.
Mm-hmm.
Gee whiz.
Really interesting for that.
There's like 6 pages of this flipping race.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it is possibly the most comprehensive I have ever seen in my life.
This company's got the wrong name. It should be Femurs of Distinction.
Oh God.
That's it.
Are you happy with yourself?
I am happy with myself.
They could go with Femur Forge.
Oh, could do that. Right, well, I could get lost in the femurs. In fact, after the show's over, I'm going to come back and get lost in the femurs.
Come back and get lost in them.
Oh, wait a minute. We've got Cthulhu ones coming up. We've got like demony looking things here. I don't know what the heck these are. Oh. Oh.
Squid face, because they
say those names.
Well, you're not supposed to be able to pronounce them. But they do go up to the cyclopean range of femurs as well, so bigger than your average bears and a bit more punchy for it, I suppose.
Oh, cool. Any standouts before I switch section? Oh, there's more head swaps.
Yeah. They do wizard heads and they also do the cyclopean heads, which are a bit bigger and have armor, so chainmail and executioner's hoods and stuff on them, and tails. I mean, it's nice to see, especially from the indies, the fact that you can still go in and go, I want heads, I want weapons, I want weird things, just to change stuff up, because it used to be a standard that you could get parts to do, you know, unique kit bashes, and if you wanted to really make a range of your own distinctive, you could do that, and a lot of companies don't anymore because it's too much hassle. So it's really nice. The shields are particularly nice as far as Celtic fantasy go as well. I really like the knot work on them. I've been trying to work out what I need them for. I haven't thought of it yet, but I will.
Then it's got to be Saga.
Yeah.
Well, you could squeeze him in as some sort of fancy lord who's had a specially commissioned shield.
I know. I want units of them. Whatever it is, could end up being in Saga with a bit of magic.
Oh yes, could be
Saga with sort of magic. Yeah.
But would you actually have Irish people, Celts?
No. But
were you going to go with the actual Fomorian?
Possibly just the Fomorians, because then it would be full on Celtic anyway, and I could do that sort of ancient Irish fighting the old myths and sagas.
Oh, they even delve into the dead.
Well, you know, undead are a mainstay of fantasy, and if you don't have them in femur form, then you're just missing out. And again, you know, it's one of the things that I like to find from smaller companies, that they do unusual things that I mean, we've seen an undead centaur recently, and I think Ben was saying you don't see them often. And it's things like this going, well, if people are resurrecting humans, then they're obviously resurrecting other races as well. Why do we not see them so often?
Yep, fair point.
See, when you're in the fantasy section, if you have a look at mimics, a lovely little section, there's not a huge amount in there, but the Watchers of Balor Juve set, so it's a bunch of baby beholders, is very cute in and of itself, just to, you know, have charging after people around corridors. You don't need massive beholders. Sometimes just setting a pack of small kids on people is enough.
What, a beholder swarm? That's terrifying.
Yeah, only if it's coming at you, like Cleopatra. But it's the rest of the mimics are really one of the things I love, because I was looking at mimics recently with the idea for doing a regiment of doppelgangers for Kings of War, and I thought instead of doing humanoid, because people were doing, they match humans, I thought, wouldn't it be fun just to have a base full of mimics? And I've started looking for different types, and we all see chess mimics all the time, but things like the book on legs is great. The bag mimics, imagine putting your hand in one of those thinking it's a pouch of gold. Just, you'll lose a hand that way. They'll be calling you a lefty.
Oh dear.
And just things like that. The food that bites back, which I'm pretty sure is meant to be a mimic hamburger.
Looks like it.
And I think it's just so cute, just as dungeon dressing or scenery dressing, or decorating your tables, because people we talk about putting furniture into things like the big foreground tavern, but we never talk about what goes on the tables and things like that. And just having weird bits and pieces like this in your dungeon or in your table and on the board really gives people pause for thought.
You see, I always find if you're really going to town on a table and you do some of the more inconsequential like set dressing, it does make the game feel better.
Oh yeah, even little things like printing a map out and sticking it on the top of the table, as if people have been planning stuff way down with a couple of mugs. Away you go.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Yeah.
There we even venture into the shrooms.
I'm okay without shrooms today, thank you, Lloyd. I wouldn't mind seeing some of the sci-fi.
Yep.
You will move on to sci-fi. Because look at this, right? That is the extent. Does that keep going and keep going and keep going? That's a lot of stuff.
It is a lot of stuff. But
just
get what you pay for.
Just before we go to sci-fi though, Justin, we'll have a quick look at fantasy monsters.
Spiderhead.
Where?
Second row.
Oh yeah, here we go.
If I remember correctly, there are also baby rust monsters as well. That's just straight from the thing. I mean,
it totally is.
I love it.
There's a bunch of horrors. The bog elementals are nice. They have some really nice, again, almost mimic-like monsters kicking around in there.
It's a bit sounds creepy.
A bit Half-Life-y looking there.
Yeah.
What was it? The bog elementals, Gerry?
Bog elementals, very cute. But if you go to the second page of monsters.
If you do the Shoggoth as well, I think.
There we are. Second page of monsters. You'll see things like the big battle lizard. Giant dinosaurs are always good, but better than that are the gigantic slugs.
Oh, hold on. Oh,
Dino cavalry. That's cool.
Oh, quite like the dino.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, actually. Battle slugs. Where?
Battle slugs down the bottom. There you go, gigantic slug. And the reason I say they're battle slugs, and I know you want to get on to sci-fi, but in the underground creature section, you will find gnomes. And the gnomes, it's not a massive list, but the gnomes have cavalry that fit on those giant slugs. So you can have little gnomish armies kicking around, and they're kind of Brian Froud-like, mixed with the classic German gnomes.
That's it. Giant slugs with giant everything. Careful how you paint those antennae.
Easy. Jump down.
Oh, this thing's cool though, and this thing as well, Justin. Screw your sci-fi. I'm going to stay here and look at this. Look at this. Look at that.
Bleeding earth tooth.
I don't know what it is, but I want it.
It's a fungal horror.
Right. Okay. Sci-fi.
So Starground, this is the overarching, the things below it are sort of subdivisions. But there's some really fun things. You may spot a few from Axeground wandering in here. There are Donators, which are kind of like Zoats, but the Grok Herd is really nice as far as where have you opened? Oh, you've gone into Overlords already. You're way ahead of me.
Oh, look at these things.
You're like a ninja.
They're like the Flood from Halo.
Yeah, the Overlords is one of the more sort of rounded. They are all floaters.
Yeah.
But there's varieties of floaters from what do they call them? The Cacodemons and Doom, which are the horned cacklers. So you've got Doom-esque, you've got sort of flood, floaty, brain bug things. But there's also the sci-fi version, I suppose full-on sci-fi with the Shabti Sentinels. They're, essentially beholders for sci-fi. They're metal robot droid things with one huge uni eye on them.
Is that in here?
Yeah, it'll be at the bottom of the...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Shabti and Thralls. So, not everything has to be, I was going to say living, although that does appear to be some form of living metal. The Overlord Krakon and Matriarch are particularly nice as well. And again, different from what you normally see, but perfect for games like Stargrave, Brutality, anything you really want. I mean, even fantasy, those things would work for, because floating gribbly monsters are perfect for horror and fantasy.
Yeah. Do you know what they're good, though? They're good for filling out a world around you, rather than, it's my army versus your army and there's nothing on the planet.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to have a gaming table and have these things in amongst your battle, because you're literally battling through an alien forest or something. That'd be cool.
Yeah, especially when you look at things like that, the Pteridines at the top and the Grok herd. I mean, the Pteridines are essentially walking stalagmites.
Yeah, this is what this section sings to me. Yeah. Just, this is your alien world, bring it to life.
Yeah.
Also being able to put herds of things on the tabletop and occasionally have them aggro into people because they've been a bit too clumsy with the shots. You've missed, have you? Oh, I wonder if they've hit another thing. Oh, you've antagonized the bull of the Grok herd. Now they're stampeding towards you.
Sweet end of the week, fellas. Sweet. Then for Morians, that's going to tie me up all evening. I had plans. I'm working on like a tower thing that I'll talk about on the XLBS show on Sunday. I had plans for that this evening. They're out the window.
Out the window.
I got to go plan how to piss my money away. Brilliant. Brilliant.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
So this week, let's get the news underway with some bolt action, some nice historical stuff, which is pretty apt considering we're giving away that starter set. What do you think, boys? What do you think of the new releases for bolt action?
It's nice to be seeing more of the Canadian sector being looked at for the D-Day landings.
Absolutely.
I think it's just nice that they've decided to retool that British sprue.
Yeah.
The Germans got a new one a couple of years ago now. And the big kickoff for this is that they've gone back and they've made the sprues more in keeping with the current, sort of easier to build. You're not having to try and mess around with two hands and a weapon and try and get the line up completely. So it's following on from what has now become the standard for bolt action.
What's new then? So these guys existed, but these are new plastic versions, or are these just an updated version of a plastic version?
Yes, an updated version of the plastic version. So the British had a plastic line infantry box, but it was like the original Germans, that they had specific weapons went in specific hands, and the hands were paired, and it was a bit of a faff to put things together. So this is an easy build where you get some things like the charging fella there with two hands on the rifle. Those two hands come, that one exactly, that comes with the arms already paired onto that weapon, so you don't have to go hunting to see if you've got the right arm for the left arm, left, right.
Sweet.
And so hopefully that'll stop the floating rifle syndrome that you used to get.
So it's much easier to build, and alongside that they've updated the sort of the head options as well. So now you get enough heads to do everybody with Tam O'Shanters, if you want to run them as Scottish or indeed Scottish Canadian. And then they also have the regular heads are bareheaded, and then you have a choice of helmets, so you can put on whether you want to use the plain helmet, the net covered helmet, or the one with scrim on it, or mix and match them to your heart's content to get a more realistic look of a sort of a veteran British or Canadian force.
Sweet. Which period of the war are we talking about here?
Well,
1943 to 45 mid-war then? Oh no, late war.
It's late war. So this is done for the D-Day landings.
Yeah.
So from D-Day onwards, and they've they've rebooted the bundles as well. So apart from picking up the box set, you can also get them as a sort of a 900 point-ish starter army that contains things like a universal carrier, a Churchill tank, some anti-tank with a big 6-pounder, anti-infantry, that sort of thing. So
this stuff here, Gerry.
Yeah. So that is, I mean, we've seen these before for Desert War and the like, where you get your tank, you get a carrier of some description, and then a bit of anti-tank. So you've got the metal anti-tank, 6-pounder, the Vickers, and the mortar all in there. So if you're just looking to kick off with bolt action, that's a great place to start the British, because it gives you a very solid core for a force.
I mean, like, one of the most useful things in there is actually that little Bren gun carrier, because it essentially works like a mobile pillbox.
Yeah, and if you can, you can have your entire army mechanized. You just have half a dozen or so of those donutting around the battlefield to annoy your opponents. Is always good for a laugh.
Yeah, so
John tried that once.
So it's like two flavors of sort of starter set then. So you can get this, or you can go a bit extra and get like the whole starter army, which seems to be this plus these additional bits.
Yeah,
and there is an even bigger one in the post.
Ooh, is there?
So you can work your way up, all in conjunction with the Canadian sector.
Where?
Book.
For this one.
Yeah, so that is all of the above. So it's essentially the army you've looked at plus the new sector book, and not in there, unfortunately, but on the Warlord Games website there are also 3 new Churchill tanks coming. If you want to start doing the engineer core, so if you've ever wanted a Churchill with a bridging device, or a road laying bobbin, or a trench dodging.
Well, I can sort this out for you, Gerry.
See if you go to
But what I was going to say, do we know, is this one of their resin tanks then? Because the tanks seem to be resin, so the vehicles are still resins then. Is this
no? The tank is resin. The universal carrier on the left is a plastic kit.
Oh, sweet!
And then down below, the mortar, the machine gun, the officers, and the 6-pounder are all metal kits.
Yeah.
So it's all 3. It's the holy trinity of models: plastic, resin, and metal.
Swing, every base ticked.
Yep.
Oh, I've gone to the wrong place. Let me see.
If you look at the big link below the thing, there you go. And then go back to pre-orders. And at the top, you will see the 3 resin variants.
Oh, nice.
Oh, those are very cool.
Yeah. So, which make really nice just for... I don't know if they're going to have rules in the Canadian book, but you could certainly have unique scenarios based around them. Or if you just want them for a modeling project, being able to actually have the bridge Churchill there. And they all come with the big petard mortar on it as well, for when you want to win friends and influence people. That one's just come off D-Day. Look, with he's laying a road, and he's even got the snorkels for his tank.
Yeah.
So
I would say this is some of the coolest releases they've done in a while, because this sort of thing makes a great objective, even if it's not part of the battle. The Brits are trying to create flipping roads to get across, to get their supply lines and stuff up and running. Let's go in and try and scupper that on them. It's a great objective.
Yeah, but even having it as an actual thing, if you're playing the British and your objective is to lay the bridge, you've got the vehicle that's laying the bridge.
I mean, if you've got money to throw around and you've got both or all 3 of them, I would go with that. You start with your forces attempting to break through, and that is laying the road for the bridge layer coming behind to get up to the, and you tie it all in. You even put those on like a train track, so to speak, that they always move every turn towards the objective, which means that you have to keep pace to make sure that the way is clear and held open for them coming.
I like it. I like it a lot.
It's interesting times. It's nice to see D-Day reappearing on the horizon for bolt action, and putting more of that emphasis onto Juno, I think they were on, and moving away from the American sectors of D-Day and showing off the British and Commonwealth troops a bit more.
Yeah.
We're giving away a box set. It's got Germans and Americans in it. So if you're looking to go down the Brits and Canadians after that, then these are perfect sets to pick up.
Next is a bit of a reminiscent for you. I think Ben put this in specifically for you.
Did he?
And it is the Wizkids Transformers So they came out last year, and initially they were, I think, only available in the US. They are available on this side of the pond now. And as a gentle reminder, because a lot of people looked at them and went, "Those would be great. I can't get them," and then give up. But no, don't give up. Never surrender. For the Decepticons and the Autobots are now available throughout the land, and they are part of their high def primed range, so you have to get in there and do the painting yourself, but as you can see, the miniatures look absolutely fantastic. They've managed to recreate the classic cartoon beautifully for the tabletop.
I do like the fact that Prime is primed.
Megatron is mega.
Gee whiz.
So it's so that's handy.
Oh, I'm star screaming at that joke just now. It's terrible.
No, there was actually a new animated series came out on Netflix recently where they've actually kept the old style of the original, but it's like updated graphics.
I have watched techniques. I did watch it, and
there are two. So there is Earthrise out now.
Oh, is there another season out there?
There's another out. Yeah, but it's done as like a mini series, which is in like its own section, which is kind of weird.
I'm gonna have to go and check it out. I liked the animation style and whatnot. Some of the storyline wasn't so fussed on.
See, I kind of like it because it's doing the full progression of the war on Cybertron, and then the next season is them, out in space, on their way.
Lost in space, are they?
No, wrong franchise. And I really hate it. I hated the Netflix version of Lost in Space.
Oh dear!
The Netflix version of Lost in Space.
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is, Gerry.
Yeah.
I knew there was Joey in space.
Oh yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, but
oh man, that was back in the 90s.
I'm going to bring us back on track because we have
please do
painted versions, do we, that we're looking at?
Yeah, and I think the really interesting thing about this is whoever's gone for the paint job has decided to keep the classic sort of toy line look.
Yeah,
flat colors, nice clean, look, crisp, no real. I mean, I myself would look at that and go, I would do shading and maybe do, washes, color modulation, and make it look like you would make a model look when you're painting it yourself. Whereas they've gone, no, I want these to look like the classic toys I played with. Flat panels, flat colors, crisp, clean paint job. It looks absolutely great for it.
Yeah. I would be chipping the crap out of this. Scuffs, chips, burns. Got to get a wee bit here where Megatron
you'd paint
killed
them
him.
More like the new series, where they are a lot more beat down.
Well, I paint them more like the Transformers the movie, where they're all beat down. Yeah. Man, Optimus Prime, he was so beat up in that movie.
Yeah, Soundwave looks really good though. But do you get Laserbeak?
I don't think. Maybe.
I haven't seen it yet, but that's not to say it's not out there.
My main concern about this is I like the fact that it comes primed, and I dislike the fact that it comes primed as well. Because if it's like Dust, originally I was looking at it going, oh, this stuff's already primed, I'll just paint it, it'd be great. I'll not have to worry about any of that crap. About 5 minutes into paint, I'm like, oh, I wish that mold line wasn't there. I wish that mold line wasn't there. And then when I ended up doing a scraping off, and I'm like, nah, it's
reprime. Have to reprime
the whole purpose of it being primed.
No. Well, the marketing guys don't think about fickle modelers like ourselves who don't like mold lines or rough cutoff points of sprue gates, and you've got that to weigh up whenever you're getting pre-built, pre-assembled, or pre-primed or painted miniatures that you may end up regretting the fact that somebody's already beat you to it.
There is a picture here of them against some 28mm figures.
They've got a nice heft to them.
See, that's what would make me want to deal with the mold lines even more, is just the sheer scale of them. I want to go in and just deal with the mold lines.
I tell you what, though, looking at Optimus there, they'd be perfect for 20mm.
I would. That would be pretty flippin' sweet.
Oh. And are these just collectibles, or is there a game alongside this?
No, these are just collectibles. So it's part of WizKids. They have a range of stuff, mostly around D&D, but they've also thrown these into the mix just for the old nerds among us, like Lloyd, who desperately wants Transformers.
I want a Transformers game.
In that case, Bot War. Bot War is your
Okay.
Yeah, go and check out Bot War. Did we get a set of that in the office, Gerry, didn't we?
We did get a set of that.
Possibly bubbly.
Oh, anyway, is it in your room? Is it? Oh, I can't believe this, Justin. It's like, let's say, a Transformers type game in a box.
Right. Okay, and now we can get
Cold
Transformers miniatures.
Look at that, Transformer-esque miniatures in a box.
Yeah, but now we can get actual Transformer miniatures. I want to play this. Like
But that scale there, Gerry, they'd be little. They essentially look like 28 mil guys, do they? As we veer completely off track here.
This is fine.
Not completely 28 mil. Some are bigger than others.
Not all bots are created equal.
Hang on. Find one of the. It's an open packet because I was playing with them. I think it's the Beast War ones.
Do you have your fancy second camera set up, Gerry?
Actually, it's not in the right place, but we'll see.
Gerry's all fancy. He's 2 cameras, Justin. 2.
Yeah, I know. I set that up in here one time
with a focal ring. Yeah, we're not interested in yours though. We're interested in his. This is Gerry.
You're interested in Gerry's ring, okay?
This is Gerry we're talking about. He can't take photos and focus yet. He's got 2 cameras set up.
What can I say? I'm a man of many talents.
While you sort those out, I'm going to go back to the images.
You go back to the images while
I would definitely be chipping these, or at the very least, just get a pencil and go down the edges and stuff.
Yeah, you could do some adjustment. Yeah, in fact, you should actually check out. Gerry was doing a thing with like pens recently, which would work really well.
And draw some white sort of streaks and stuff on this guy's windows, on Optimus's windows. That'd be sweet.
Yeah, there's
we've got pics.
They're almost Gundam-esque.
I will give you a scale.
You haven't got a 28 mil mini to chuck beside him, have you?
I've got my...
Because that's my brain works in 28 mil minis. How many minis high is he?
Hang on a minute. I'll give you a 28 mil mini. There's Waffen SS.
Okay, so a little smaller. They are a little smaller.
Yeah, so if you went 15 mil with those guys for humans, is that the sort of scale? Yeah, is that the sort of scale it is?
I think it's 15 because they sell another range. I mean, some are smaller, some are larger. They sell Bot Wars as part of a universe, if you will. I'm going to change back to me, which has another game. I think we did a whole Indie of the Week on it, actually.
I do quite like the design of them.
So yeah, there are a substantial range of bots, and I mean it means you can just, if you want specifically to play Transformers, and you're not worried about the scale, you could just get the Bot War rules.
Well, I suppose so long as your base sizes are right.
Who cares about base sizes? Rules are made to be broken.
Yeah.
Get rules, fix rules to match whatever you want to play with.
Right.
That's how the game is played.
Let's go back here. I've just visited the gallery. Look at this. Now we can get a good look at these from all angles. I have to admit, I'm pretty tempted by these, but like you, Gerry, I can't understand why they've just gone, hey, look at this flat color. No. Well, I guess they're trying to show what you can do with it that's achievable.
It's very much like the old cartoon. They're kind of trying to show off.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at it, it does look like, it's not even the old cartoon. It's the old toys, the actual toys that we bought.
Yeah.
When we were kids in the 80s. Justin.
I was born in the 80s.
I had loads of these. Don't know where any of them went.
It's probably given away with your Star Wars figures, man.
Well, probably given away by my mother.
Don't remind him. You're going to set him off. We'll be here all day.
Yeah. I have to admit, I'm pretty tempted, but I'm definitely going to have to clean up some.
Oh, look, there's mold lines back of his legs.
Yeah.
Front of his leg. Never mind the back.
Yeah. So like there's horrendous ones there. And along that. See this? So
I think it's the same sort of plastic as like Reaper Bones. It's a soft plastic, so you have the added benefit that you can't file or fill particularly well. So sharp knife to remove. But yeah, it's a wonderful walk down.
That is unfortunate.
I'm tempted. They'd look really sweet on this shelf right here.
Up next, we have a mixture of horror and a bit of sci-fi from Black Site Studios.
Oh.
So we've looked in the past at so Don't Look Back, the horror game where you've got a mixture of survivors running about the tabletop trying to be butchered by classic slashers from from pop culture. So obviously these aren't classic slashers from pop, but I think they look very, very similar.
Is this more new releases? Because we were looking at stuff like this just a couple of weeks back.
So this is a new horror pack. It's a set of 6 figures. As you can see there, they come from a myriad of horror films from East and West. So we have the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers there. We've already looked at the girl from The Ring. Obviously not the Sarah Michelle Gellar version because it was terrible.
Is this Darkman?
No, that's the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers.
Oh,
the big bug who hides in the I was going to say as a scarecrow in the middle of the cornfield. The first one is Candyman. And as you can see from the unpainted, we have the Nun. We have Maniac Cop, which is an amazing slasher from the 80s. 80s were great. We have somebody with an axe and a woolly coat on, and I don't recognize that one.
Something for the comments, peeps. Something for the comments.
It must be somebody who's famous, but I don't know who famous person it is. Don't know what murder we have. So yeah, really nice set of horror models, all 32 mil and resin. So they've done some terrific work already. We've seen that across the board. And it's really nice to get an extended amount of monsters to start killing up the young, fragile children on the tabletop, because that'll teach them to be teenagers, lousy teenagers with their parties and their good times.
Well, I mean, it's the old thing. You always wonder, why do they split the party? Don't split the party.
Well, because there's nothing to see here. We should all go skinny dipping. Yay!
That's not the only stuff.
It is not the only stuff. Apart from horror, they also have some PSC combat drones.
Okay.
So I don't know what PSC stands for. I assume it's like OCP. It is just a generic corporation name. But these are a set of 6 robots for use in your sci-fi or near cyberpunk future gaming. They've already done a few other figures like the horror set, which are heavily influenced by pop culture movies. So we have Blade Runner-esque things. These guys would look particularly good in something like Brutality, for example.
They're a bit chappy looking, aren't they?
They are a bit chappy looking. There's a little bit chappy, and then the guy with the bucket on his head is a bit out there, I feel. But it's really nice seeing these, because just having a generic set of robots that you can put on the tabletop either as, a set of good guys, bad guys, or maybe AI controlled.
Was Chappie a South African movie?
Yes.
It was, yes.
Was it set in the same universe as
District 9?
District 9, was it?
There's no reason why it can't have been, but it wasn't specifically set in the same universe now.
I'm immediately looking at those going, let's smush those together with some District 9 minis. Hey, have some robots smashing some bugs.
Smashing some prawns.
Prawns.
3 years. 3 years.
There actually is a District 9 board game that the guys at Weta Workshop made, Lloyd.
Yeah. It's kicking around in the office somewhere.
Yeah. No, trust me, I have it safely put on a shelf.
Gotta get me some prawns. Right.
But yeah, so some lovely stuff there from Black Site.
As we venture into the world of sci-fi, moving on, we have new stuff coming out for Infinity as well.
Yeah, quite a lot coming for Corvus Belli for March and April. And first off, we have the Neoka.
Good luck with that.
I'm going to go with Neoka. Assault Trips for O12. This is a sort of a booster set of some particularly hardline members of O12 from Star Meta. This gives you a bit more punch, and these guys have pretty much seen it all on the tabletop already. So if you need a bit of additional heavy hitting power, then the Assault Trips are certainly going to give that to you. We also have there the Yu Jing, who are super fantastic and great. And this is the first of the beta booster packs. So we have done booster packs in the past for the factions that give you things to add to starter sets, and now they're going back and these are beta ones, so you can have a choice of the first or second booster pack, or pick them up and then choose which models you want. So you can see there's a missile launcher, a multi-laser, and a hacker, which is very important in Games of Infinity because you always want to eject your opponents out of their tags before they can do you any massive damage.
And there's a jump trooper in there as well, which is nice.
From a collector's point of view, someone who's just buying to paint rather than play, the booster packs is really cool because you just go, I fancy a little bit of this. I'll just buy that pack of 3 and paint them up as a wee display thing and put them on.
Yeah. Build a wee, get a taster of the faction. Yeah.
Build a wee diorama or something. Years ago, it was a diorama sent over from Angel Heraldus, I think, painted it.
I still have it sitting on a shelf. I can literally grab it
was
at any point.
Sweet. Is it right that close, Justin?
It's in the cage. I could literally get it in like 30 seconds.
Go get it, mate. Go get it. We'll look at the next one.
We'll look at the next one.
Where do you see this diorama, peeps?
So the next one is a booster pack for Panacea.
Yeah.
And again, it contains a hacker and then a couple of guards with special weapons. So you've got a sniper and a HMG in there. And again, it has this feeling where the first booster packs were additional troopers or specialists for your faction. This time round, you've got a bit more specialized weapons plus the hacker, because it's easier to move into Infinity in stages. And I think if you leave hacking until last, it adds a lot to the game, but it takes a lot of the heavy lifting away of having to try and learn a lot of different rules at the same time. And again, sculpts are absolutely superb. I mean, the work that they're doing at the moment is just fantastic.
Is this all in their crispy metal, or what's this in?
This is all in their crispy metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they have a habit of getting really sharp, crisp stuff out of the metal.
Definition and detailing, even on very subtle details, is just absolutely stunning. They're definitely at the top of the game as far as metal production goes.
Could we have success, Justin?
I failed. I thought I knew the exact position.
Oh dear. The idea is I was a tiny wee diorama of just a couple of dudes or maybe one dude on it. I'm looking at these booster packs thinking, do you know what? Even if you're just a collector painter, just pick up the wee booster, do wee dioramas and stuff. It'd be really sweet.
Well, speaking of collectors or painters, the next one we can have a look at is Cassandra. So this is a single figure, and if you're going to do a diorama or a single paint job, you'd be hard pressed to beat that for a figure. So she's a nomad rocking a Spitfire. So game terms, it's a brutal weapon to get in your face up close and personal, but it's also got that really striking anime feel to it. She's actually, you can't really tell from that image, but she's leaning backwards as if she's just stopped and her coat has been billowing around her legs. It's pushed forward.
Or she's about to jump out of the way of fire as she returns fire.
You're painting the narrative right there. You're building your diorama already. And again, fantastic looking miniature. As a one-off for a painter, it's stunning. As anybody who wants nomads on the tabletop will know, having a Spitfire is always good for a laugh. A nice little commando. And we finish things off with a space trucker. So
I like this.
So yeah, this is a monstrucker with boarding shotgun. So again, if you're playing game wise, that big brutal shotgun with the huge drum mag is pretty spectacular. But the monstrucks are these huge sort of land trains, convoy like things that just drive one place to another down the Sam Highway. They're fully automated vehicles, but they need people on board to both defend and sort of do running repairs. And the miniature itself has got these huge, they're not mechanical legs, they're actually magnetic, like grappling boots, so that they can walk along these convoys when they're moving without being blown off or falling away.
That's cool.
Like the boots from Solo.
Yes.
Where the stormtroopers are walking along the train that's flying along at 1,000,000 miles an hour. Something like that. Be sweet. Oh, now I'm going to need a land train as well.
See, big land train. And it's a terrific model, because even though it fits perfectly into the Infinity universe and can go onto the tabletop and be a fighter, it has that very not part of a faction, not part of a dedicated military organization, just somebody doing a job. And if that job happens to be a Mad Max style shooting the guy with the flaming guitar as they come to take your stuff, then so be it. But yeah, it's just really nice miniature.
Sweet. Love these releases.
Stuff.
Yeah. Really nicely done from Corvus Belli.
Every time they knock it out of the park. Yeah. They really do. The consistency of Corvus Belli to come along and go, when you see our new releases, you will not be disappointed, is just phenomenal.
It's also the pacing that they keep up, because their manufacturing is in-house. They know they can get through releases a lot quicker. They're not waiting on a boat coming from China, Poland, wherever. They're just doing it themselves.
Yeah.
I think, waiting on a boat from Poland as well.
Right.
Driving
Staying.
across country.
Land boat.
Land boats.
Land trains, flip's sake, not boats, trains, people. It's all about the trains. Right. Keeping it with sci-fi, moving on.
Yeah.
We've got something else coming up, sort of sci-fi looking.
We do indeed. So Slave 2 Gaming are working on some 15mm Maschinen Krieger. So this is a bit of a left field one for me. I'm aware of the Krieger range.
Is it a bit like World War II's? Weirdy World
No.
World War One, more like?
What is it?
No, in fact, you're way out. So a couple of friends of mine are big into this from years ago. It started off as a Japanese comic book in like the 80s, and it's the far future. So after World War V or World War VI,
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Earth has been nuked. It's like 2800. Earth was nuked. People abandoned it, took to the stars, did their colonization. And then years later, people returned to Earth and discover that the world has been sort of reclaimed by nature, but it's livable now, it's habitable. And so they start setting up colonies, and then the global, I was going to say global empire, but the global government decide that they really need, some governmental help. So they send them down, and they immediately start sort of stranglehold on these settlers, these colonists who are more or less broken away from their control, and it starts a whole war then on the new Earth colonies. So it has this very distinctive. It's got a World War II feel.
Yeah.
But then when you see some of
like this does.
Yeah. When you see some of these things, they took in when they were drawing it originally, those in particular, those suits. I've made Tony has so many of these. They have almost like a 2001 Space Odyssey meets Robbie the Robot kind of feel to the actual mechanics of the suit and how the suit goes together. And there's these guys inside these big essentially tank bubble things.
Meets inner space.
Yeah. It's a peculiar setting. I'm surprised that we haven't seen it on the tabletop before. I suppose it's not as well known as a lot of other genres.
I think I've seen big scale models of this sort of stuff done.
Yes,
coming out of Japan.
There have been huge amounts of models.
Like 32, like
135ths.
Yeah, 135ths.
Yeah. I know Tony has chibi versions of them, and then they did like a range of, I think they were called super deformed, and they were like almost like bubble-headed things. But you've got these guys in a mixture of armored fighting suits and walkers, and just plain infantry. So they've been
That's sweet. Some definitely lost in translation if you call your product super
deformed. Oh yeah, no. In the same way, chibi is super deformed because they've all got the big heads and tiny bodies. That's the same sort of thing. This could blow up because a few years ago they talked about doing a big Hollywood movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Based on Maschinen Krieger. So if that comes to fruition, I think a lot more people will know about it. But it's really interesting just to see not just 15mm sci-fi, but something that has been kicking around and has a fanatical fan base for the past sort of 30, almost 40 years.
I just clicked the link. I just want to have a quick look at some of the other things that are floating around. So where have I floated? Slave 2 Gaming, then I've landed
Slave 2
on.
Gaming is the company, yeah.
So particularly this faction, I like to look at these.
Yeah, so the SDR are the Stahl Democratic Republic, something like that. They are the government, the evil space government that are impacting all the nice people on Earth.
Sweet. Gonna have to check out some more.
Yeah, because fascinating, not just genre, but take on it as well. And 15mm means you can have some big games on the tabletop.
GW stuff then. Now our GW news is kind of like a rehash of the news that we've had before, because GW like to do that thing of here's what's coming, and then they do that thing of here it is now available.
Yeah. So a few weeks ago we looked at the Hedonites of Slaanesh and their new plastic kits that were coming for them, which was fairly comprehensive. And I know at the time we were big fans of the Arabe-esque sort of feel that they'd given to them. So the fiends of Slaanesh had these riders on them with a very Arabian feel, flowing silks that fit the sort of look and feel of Slaanesh perfectly. And then you've also got lunatics like that who kind of looks like the fellow from 300. So they are now finally available to get your hands on, along with the Battle Tome, if you are keen on playing your Slaaneshi faction in the Age of Sigmar and the, I suppose, Mortal Realms, technically. But they're a weird set of people, it has to be said. If you've seen them coming, you would turn and run the other way, even if you didn't know that they were chaos-worshipping deviants.
Well, hang on, that looks pretty heroic there, the Magnificent guy.
Sigvald. So that's the second iteration of Sigvald, this time with 100% more cow horns. I don't know what it is about Age of Sigmar and cow horns on people. But he was the epitome of beauty and perfection for Slaanesh. And now he's returned.
Yeah, cow horns.
I'll just quickly open them up for anybody who didn't see us when we were covering them a couple of weeks ago. We covered this quite extensively, so I'm not going to spend a huge amount of time on it. Just let you know that it is available.
They are available, yeah.
Particularly, I like these, Justin. Well, not these. Hold on, I'll keep opening stuff as I go. If I open that, open that. You know, you've got all this stuff.
Which one's your favorite then, Lloyd?
The ones riding dinosaurs, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seekers.
Look at that. They're pretty sweet. I do like them a lot, actually.
Those are pretty cool.
What happens if you give it a seahorse legs and then really, really annoy it by, I don't know, taking it out of the sea? You get these things.
Just imagine your gaming table if you go in for the Roo Riders.
Yeah. Although I have to say those miniatures look spiky as hell. You're going to keep stabbing your hands on them.
Well, you know.
But I guess that's chaos.
Put tiny corks on everything.
That could actually look really fun.
So we have there all of the bits will now be available to pre-order. I believe this weekend, and it means you can pick them up from store.ontabletop.com.
Of course,
plus the books.
And there we see the second of the books. So the Daughters of Cain are also getting a murderous new battle tome. And again, we've seen some of the new figures a little while ago. What we hadn't seen before was the endless spells. So like all of the battle tome spell effects now have presence on the tabletop.
The blood.
They have all the blood and a massive Conan-esque snake thing there that I can't tell whether or not it's made from blood or just dripping in blood. It could go either way with the God of Murder.
I think it's blood manifesting into a snake.
That would make some sort of sense.
If we're speaking of its spells and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I'm digging like the bloody swords. Blood doesn't move like that.
I know what you mean. They obviously have this idea that the swords themselves are dripping blood while spinning around each other, but it does look like they've got one of those rag mats that people used to stitch together hanging off them.
Well, haven't you been 3D printing some swords and stuff, Justin? Power swords and things like that. If you go and grab them and you and John cover them in tomato ketchup and then go into the car park and film yourselves swigging it around, we can watch this back in slow motion and see if this is actually how it works.
Now, I actually gave the power sword away because it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. So the only sort of properly 3D print it is a chainsword, and I do not want to swing that big thing about. It will fly apart.
Wait. Foreground left us some swords.
The metal ones, those swords.
Yeah, this sounds like an even worse plan.
Yeah.
That's a great plan.
Sounds like an even worse plan.
I'm pretty sure the car park should be empty. Nobody's allowed out of their houses anyway.
Tomato ketchup. 3 minutes of filming, and then we will have the answer.
And then tomato ketchup hits the camera, ruins the camera, and then I have to buy a new camera.
Cling film over the lens, stretch type.
That's it. Or super zoom. You know, you don't have to be that close.
That's true.
And that would wrap that up.
Let them do a couple of practice swings first before you get weighted in.
Yeah.
What we have is a new set of 10mm Chivalric Knights. They're being sculpted by Forest Dragon, who's going to be the 3D printing look, and they're being printed out via the merchant scheme by Printing in Detail. So we've already seen stuff from Forest Dragon and Printing in Detail in the past where they've been essentially recreating War Master armies for people who want to play 10 mil fantasy games. This time around, they're moving into a Bretonnian-looking faction. So you have there a flying mage holding the sword like a cross. We have the lord on massive charger with his horse curtains. And
That's a
also,
big steed indeed.
Yep. And they also have 2 units. So we have a unit of knights and a unit of peasants. As you can see, the detail is incredibly good for 10 mil.
I love the embossed shields.
The embossed shields are terrific. There's the little touches, like on the mounted lord. There are shields around the horse's caparison, around the neck, which is just like the GW Bretonnians, the last edition before they killed them all off.
Yeah.
And this is what we've seen from Forest Dragon in the past, is that you'll get a couple of heroes and a couple of units and a couple of heroes and a couple of units. And over the space of 3 to 4 months, they complete the entire 10 mil army for all the various factions that you would need if you were playing War Master. What I will say is, when you're looking at things like the peasants there, the level of detail is fantastic. They've been sculpted for 10 mil, so they are very heroic. But I've seen people print these out in 28 mil. Zombies in particular, that they've done with the vampire line of undead, looked fantastic in 28 mil, giving you that massed rank.
If you're after a particular look, though, because it would be a bit chunkier than regular, but if that's the look you're going for, that could look rather epic.
And because it's 3D and you can stretch and pull them when you're printing them yourself in any way, shape or form, then you've got a lot of scope with it. But they are sculpted to be printed in 10 mil, and as such, the detail work has been done with that in mind. So
I think they're cracking anywhere from 10 to 20 mil sort of range.
Yeah.
28 mil, you can do it. I don't know if I'd push it, because yes, you can scale things up and down in a 3D program quite easily. But what you can't really do is you can't expand their arms and retract their arms and that sort of stuff to get it to go from what is a very heroic looking sculpt down to a less, just regular sort of heroic sculpt. But maybe I would have to see the pics. Maybe they do look really cool at 28.
Yeah. Eric, can you bring them up again, Lloyd? I'm just wondering how much scaffold these are going to need if you're going to run through the print yourself.
I can tell you how much scaffold if you want.
Go ahead.
Because I have some here. So what do you want to know? The hero or a regiment or what?
Honestly, it's one of the cavalry with like a long lance on it. I would be very curious about.
Okay.
Because it's long hanging off components like that during 3D printing that always make me nervous, because you need to be a little more careful with your scaffold on those points.
I would have thought these come pre-scaffolded though.
They do. So these come. So this is 3D. So these are the wood elves that Forest Dragon does, and these are from Printing in Detail. So those are ones I've removed the scaffold from.
Yeah.
Here's a set with the scaffold on them. Now, obviously, wood elves. So
now I do like that they're delivering them to you with the scaffold on.
So there's the scaffold.
That's very impressive. Very impressive.
I like that too, Justin, because it will help protect them in transit, because it'll give them a bit more strength.
Yes, the small parts, the antlers or lances or helmets, especially when you look at some of the knights that they've got there with the like the deer heads on them, protecting those antlers. I mean, here's one of the heroes.
You don't have that moment where someone's trying to nip all the scaffolding off real quick and they're not taking enough detail or care and attention over it. You get to do that. Yes, it might be a bit of a laborious job, but there's nothing worse than getting something that's been pre-clipped and you're like, I lost half an elbow or something because someone's
I'm filling.
Yeah. But if you look underneath the cloak, you may be able to see there's even small amounts of scaffolding under the cloak. Not so much on that one, but there was on others.
I like this as well, because if you're just getting into it yourself and you get a couple of these, this is very educational for people to show them, here is the amount of scaffolding you need. Here are the points you need to look at to actually apply your scaffolding.
Yeah, it's and to be honest, because I cleaned those ones up for an unboxing a while ago, removing the scaffolding is not a major issue because it's that thin, because it is only 10 mil. And if you have any major issues with it, heat them up, drop them into warm water, and pulling the scaffolding away is much easier. But those peasants, I mean, they're
fabulous. I really like the peasants, and there's a nice amount of individuality in them. I see like 1 or 2 bits repeated in like elements, but not like full repeats of miniatures.
Here's like a repeat. This lady swung to the left, and this lady swung to the right. It's the same lady, but a quick invert has done quite a good job, because by the time you've painted that, maybe the hair's slightly different, or maybe that's a person behind her.
Yeah, I've no idea.
But by the time you do a different, because you'll get boxes of minis. This is one of the great things about 3D printing, is you'll get boxes of minis and they've come on the sprue, and it's expensive to make the sprue. So you get repeats that are all exactly the same pose. Yeah. At the very least, doing that switch, that reflection down the side to go left, right, plus a repaint, different colors will help really separate those two.
Yeah, and I think that'll make for a far more interesting looking force at the end up.
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, I'm really looking forward to see exactly where the Bretonnian / Chivalric Knights go. Obviously, things like the Grail Reliquary was a fantastic sculpt with the Mad Monks for Bretonnia. I hope we see something like that. They are very heavily influenced, like all of Forest Dragon's sculpting has been, by the old world. But that I think is terrific, because it means if you are attempting to get into something like Warmaster with friends who already have the GW miniatures that aren't made anymore, then your army does not look out of place. Or in some cases, like the Wood Elves never had an official army. I think the Bretonnians did, but very short-lived. So seeing these on the tabletop again is just sensational.
Yeah.
So that's his new stuff.
I'm going to follow this through then to the website. Or some place that you can get things from. What is this that I'm on here?
So you start us going. So Gumroad is, I believe, I think it's in the States. Forest Dragon has his own Patreon where you can sign up and get the STLs yourself every month.
This one here.
And print them yourself as well. So at the moment there's Wood Elves, Dark Elves, Vampire Counts, and the Bretonnians are now coming.
Where are you reading that?
I'm not. I just know that because I've looked through them in the past for Fantastic Battles, actually, is what I'm planning on using them for. But if you don't have access to a 3D printer, or if you're like me, a stubborn old goat who refuses to embrace new technology because I have enough to do without trying to work out how to print things, then there is a patron level, which is like a merchant level, where people like Printing in Detail and others have subscribed to him and will provide you with the miniature printed and all, so you don't have to think or anything. Just have to clip off the supports when you get them and fire them on the table.
I really like this Bretonnian stuff. This might actually get me to make a 10 mil army over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I'll add a year for every mil.
For every mil, that's a good way of doing it, I have to say.
That kind of works it out. Oh crap, that means my minis are 28. It's going to take 28 years to paint them.
That's why I started most of mine 30 years ago. I'm still not finished. Lagging behind.
But look at that. That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, and the range is only going to grow.
Yeah, but for a place to start from, having crap infantry, as in peasants, having good knights, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah.
Oh, the undead are fabulous.
The undead range was sensational. These were the ones that somebody has resized to 28 mil and printed out, and they looked magnificent for it. The Wood Elf range was just stunning. Every time they released one, like I said, I never got a proper official release from GW.
That is glorious.
So it was really nice. In fact, they didn't even get an official army list. So that was a fan-made army list, and then it's been sort of grabbed by the Warmaster community. So he just filled in the blanks. So everything from that list that you need is available there. And the intricacy of the sculpts is just phenomenal. There's a unicorn riding wizard in the elf range in the Wood Elf character pack, and she has a little flame in her hand that's made up of like interlaced magic that it's completely hollow and would be impossible to make in one piece in any other material. And at 10 mil, you do not want to be gluing pieces together. So the fact that these all come ready to rock and roll is particularly good.
Yeah, give us a look at the Forest Dragon, Lloyd.
There's a mounted and unmounted version, so you can get him with a rider and without a rider.
That's nice.
Yeah, so there's the sisters. And I like the wings are essentially big leaves because it's a forest dragon, you know.
Very, very cool.
Tis sweet.
Mm.
Liking it a lot, fellas.
Yeah, so like I say, you have other links there. So the Gum Road.
This is the Gum Road, yeah.
Is a place where you can go like printing in detail to actually get them printed out.
Let's see. I've got a link to
Twitter
example print.
Yeah, so this is Forest Dragon's own Twitter feed where you get to see some of the miniatures that he's working on or that he's printed up. So I mean, they are, I think, high elf looking fellows coming in the future. The vampire counts are just terrific.
Yeah, those are great.
Although you'll hate them because they've all got bat shields, Lloyd.
Yes, I did notice that, and that's why the Bretonians are singing to me more than
because they look like real people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I could see me buying that, and I could see someone else buying it and just painting up as two medieval sets without even going. You could probably even venture down the historicals at that point because you're at 10 mil.
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. You could do some nice crusade stuff. Have your peasants with you.
Mm-hmm. I like this next 360. That's very nice. The fairy.
So presumably that is to.
Don't you mean
Ariel, the Warden of Nature? Is that what she was? She was.
Don't you mean it's very nice, Justin?
It's very nice.
Oh, so bad, Lloyd. But no, seeing a sculpt that has like that flow of earth magic coming up and through to her hand. You know, if you were trying to do that in like plastic or resin, you're guaranteed that's going to be fiddly as hell.
It's certainly not going to be a out of the box thing.
Mm.
You're going to have to do an awful lot of work to get it going.
Some painted examples.
The painted examples are really nice. I mean, there you can see Branch Wraith. There's that wizard I was talking about, the bottom left. That green, I suppose, thorns coming up from her hand is completely hollow. You can
just here.
Yeah, and both actually top to bottom and through. It's like a cage of thorns. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, really, really good work.
He's a talented fellow.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know if it's a he or not. Forest Dragon is a talented dragon.
I like it. I like it a lot.
And the other nice thing is the fact that because it's 3D and they can swap bits in and out, there are multiple standards for all of the units. So if you have 3 units of knights on the tabletop, you don't have 3 identical banners. You can go, I want that banner, that banner, that banner, and therefore your units look the same without you having to sit down and start replacing 10 mil banners, which can be done and is a pain.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be doing it. No way. But what I like most about this new Bretonian style army is I love the flow on the horses. The material's flowing real nice.
Yeah, it's moving enough to show that they are moving, but not like ridiculously so.
Yeah, there's a heft to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's spectacular. It's also, I mean, I'm positive there are other people out there doing this, but I've seen so many people go, I'm sculpting for, they're sculpted as 28s, but you can always shrink them down. Whereas somebody actually setting their stall out right in advance going, no, these are 10 mil figures that if you're scaling them up, go nuts. But you're not having to worry about the reduction of a standard miniature to 10 mil that hasn't been sculpted with that in mind. So limbs become very thin and you lose detail and definition. That's all been planned in from the start.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right, chaps, that was Forest Dragon, wasn't it?
Forest Dragon.
Go and check them out. I'm going to move us on because we've got some Kickstarters to get stuck into.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
So up first from Heresylab is their 4th visit to their own version of the old world with Witchfire and Sword.
Oh, look, well funded.
Well funded. I thought it was going to go well. Oh my God, did it blow up? And so they start off producing citizens for the old world in their first Kickstarter, and then they've added in additional ranges that are very good if you want to play skirmish games like Mordheim. This time round, they went with a undead and a Kislevite-esque faction, the Amber Hazaria.
Nice.
And my word, people, it's so weird. They've been planning this for months. I know I was talking to Jamie and Giuseppe a couple of weeks ago, and they were sending us stuff to look at. And then between them sending it and the Kickstarter launching, GW dropped Total War 2 or 3 with Kislevite stuff in it. And people were going mental for it. I'm going, you could not have timed this better if you were actually trying to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And the models are absolutely stunning. I love the hussars, the wings on the back. It's just great.
So we're looking at 28mm resins or what?
In this case, it's both resins and STLs. So once again, if you are a 3D printer, you can go in and pick up the individual STL files or complete packs at a discount. Or if you just want to get the models, they will supply you with the resin models. The undead section there has a beautiful blend. And the reason it's got a beautiful blend is things like the row there with the executioner with the hood, and then there's a woman screaming, and then there's like a Landsknecht, like a Empire two-handed sword fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these models have actually been produced in previous Kickstarters as living figures. So they've now gone back in and zombified some of the models that already exist. So if you're doing narrative campaigns, or if you're doing role-playing incorrectly with figures, then you can have these live and dead versions. And then there's a fellow who needs no introduction, the worstest of all Chaos Warriors, Krell, Lord of the Undead, or in this case, Lord Coven Ironhand. But yeah, so the Amber Hazaria, they're fighting in the old city. The undead are fighting against them. The ancient ones have risen. And then we also have a citizen pack, and the citizen pack has a couple of miniatures for all of the packs they've already released. So they have a knight, a chivalric knight faction a la Britonia. They have a witch huntery based sisters faction like the Sisters of Sigmar, and you can see some models in there will fit into all the existing warbands. But then they've also thrown in some additional figures as well that are just random people like beggars or tradesmen and sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're interested in this sort of thing and you hadn't seen it before, you can also pick up any of the previous Kickstarter figures, including Kickstarter exclusives, in this as add-ons, as little buy-ins.
Why is there a lady throwing cats?
That's the mad old woman who's become a zombie. She is my favorite. She is behind me at the moment. I can't get her out because she's buried.
That is a fabulous sculpt.
She's got an armful of cats. She's got a cat under. She's got a cat under her dress, and she's got a handful of cat that she's launching forward, and she's just mental. She's also got there's another one who's selling rats. He's got like a stick with like a cross section and lots of rats hanging by their tails, and he's just like selling. Anybody want to buy a rat? And I've decided that they're husband and wife, just because I have. So here we see me and my friends in the Old World Faith and Honor set.
Mm-hmm.
Is this you then, Gerry?
Yeah, I'm looking well.
Being very kind to yourself.
I am being very kind to myself because I looked at myself recently and went, "God, I'm fat." But
you see, I'm also digging the guy that's using the pig as a rest for his sniper rifle.
Yeah,
cool.
There's a wealth of opportunities for painters in here, even if you're not planning on playing with specific games with them. There's the rat seller, see, with his rats for sale.
Get your rats. First killed this morning.
The big fella with the little fella on his back, when I was looking at them, they're too small to be an ogre because they do a couple of ogres and they are stonking good. They would paint up very well as a alternative goblin and orc, even though they're meant to be human, simply because he's a bit bigger than your average fella, and then the little guy on his back with a pistol and lantern kind of gives you that Ankh-Morpork feel of guardsman. It's kind of cool.
I'm digging
it.
What sort of size are we looking at here? Is it regular 28mm?
Do you want to see?
Is it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it?
Gerry has some.
Today's the day where Gerry is just going, I've got a camera and I'm not afraid to use it.
Is it heroic 28 or is it like Virgin on the 32?
It is. There's one of the chivalric knights.
Sweet.
I had. Oh, here we go. You want to? You probably don't want to measure. You probably want a.
I want a mini.
Want a mini. All right. Well, they're for people who use things. Can see that.
Use numbers. Yeah.
I think I'll just go back to the Waffen SS because they're there. So.
Yeah. So they're what?
They are
they verging on the 32 then?
They are GW-esque in proportion, so they're more like 32 than 28s.
But if you get the STL files, you can scale that down a little if you want, Lloyd, or up.
Or up.
I'll see if I can fit this guy in. I have a feeling I won't be able to because he's an ogre. But
he fits ish.
He fits. The ogre comes with the option of a street sign that he's winging at people, which I had to put on because having a mace was a bit too standard. Whereas I just felt the street sign was just great. Why would I not have the street sign? Winning friends and influencing people. But these are resin casts from the previous Kickstarter, and they are as crisp as you like.
Holy crap! I can actually see the vein structure in his arm. That's amazing.
I mean, obviously the new stuff they sent a few as printed on a home printer. I don't know what printer they sent, but they're in the news article that we have on the site about them. So people can see some photographs of the new stuff that had been printed. I imagine that is sort of the lower level of what people can expect, because I've seen people obviously do terrific work and definition on 3D prints. But if you take that as a base, there is at least as good as the resins, and presumably you could probably dial that up. As far as resolution goes, I don't know how 3D print works. It's magic.
Do they have a game in mind? Because when they're presenting it's a warband. They're just saying
more time is the game they have in mind. They don't have a specific one of their own, but I would think that anybody who's played any more time would be crying out to get their hands on these.
This is my warband here. I'm a sucker for something that looks like a city guard type thing.
Yeah. And you see the quilting even on the men at arms. The detail on that quilting is amazing. The guy on the far right with the sword and shield,
this dude,
he has a terrific mustache that you can just about see there. He's actually got a cloth head covering under his hat, and the tash is going on either side of that because it's just so long. It just went on his back like the Go Compare man. It just looks amazing. So happy to see that.
It doesn't even stop there. This is the extras, though.
So these two come from the last Kickstarter, so these are now available again. You can buy these off their website right now, but if you back the Kickstarter, you can get them at a cheaper price. You'll get a bit of a discount. And then the Templars of the Flame are sort of sisters of Sigmar, and again, a terrific set of models who look like they'll do some damage. They're existing as well, yeah.
So everything we're looking at down here is already
out there, already available, and can be, like I say, you can purchase it from Heresylab. If you are thinking about picking them up in full or printing them, you'll find it's probably a bit cheaper to grab them here. But things like the Kickstarter exclusive there is for this Kickstarter, and then down below you'll see some previous Kickstarter sort of exclusives that have resurrected as well.
Sweet. Miniatures. Oh, and a big guy.
Yeah, he's not unlocked yet. We don't know what's going on with him.
Well, there's your big ogre.
Yeah, look at that. Look, why would you have a mace when you could have that massive street sign?
True, I agree.
You know,
that's it. The only thing
they've done a city tower.
You need to. It's not a city tower. It's a shrine, a roadside shrine.
Oh, that's awesome.
It is. It comes with a tiny statue of a skeleton, and then like a little penitive votive offering flame in front of him. Nice. And it's just terrific, absolutely terrific, and really a really nice feature piece, even if it's just to put down on the table. But I think as an objective, it just looks sensational. And they've had some beautiful work. I think I know Ruben Tortuga, Heresy Brush has painted some of their stuff, and then Giuseppe's painted some as well. And I think even Angel Heraldez has done a bit. And the stuff that's coming is just phenomenal. I've just been blown away by this. But I have to say that the minute people seen this, they blew up massively. It's been hammering through stretch goals like there's no tomorrow. And there's been a few comments about with the bear cavalry that got shown off in that Total Warhammer thing? Are we going to see winged hussars on polar bears? Because I think
they'd be mad not to.
I think if they could, they should do it because people will get them.
Yeah.
Well, they can clearly model bear. They can clearly model bears. Here we've got one.
Yeah,
they have that's like the famous Polish bear who helped in World War II. He has the same name, I think.
They could have hussars on grizzlies.
Well, in the trailer is polar bears, but
it's polar bears,
any bear you can paint it however you want.
Paint a bear white, polar bear. Well, the longer neck and stuff, I suppose there's a different structure to a polar bear.
Not worry too much.
Near enough is near enough.
We're pretty close.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'll wrap that up then with well-funded.
Well-funded.
And from the time you're watching this, 18 days to go. Sweet. What's up next, gents?
So next we have Capritor Miniatures, who are working on some more fantasy and more STL files. This time round, it's Orcs. Orcs for your tabletop. And these are chunky monkeys. They're 32mm scale, or at least they're sculpted for 32mm scale.
Funded. Plenty of days to go.
Yep. And again, it's a collection of miniatures that would be perfect for people playing sort of dungeon crawlers or skirmish games or that sort of thing, because you've got these sort of small grouping or small collection of orcs that work well as a sort of a war band together.
The cool thing for this is these all, I believe, don't need any support. You just print them flat. That
sounds like a thing that could possibly happen. Again, I bow to you. It's wizardry.
I was having a little look through it, but you can see the way they've designed it so that, even this guy's shield, the way it's tucking into his shin there.
Yeah, he's balancing on his toe. Yeah,
it'll just print on through without the need for a ton of scaffolding on these.
That's very clever, Mr. Bond. Very clever indeed.
Angel's been busy.
Oh, he gets around.
Oh yeah, he's everywhere now.
He gets around. It's an interesting spread of figures as well, because you've got, obviously they're orcs across the board, but they have a variety of weapons. So if you want your sort of more berserker armored two-hand weapon wielding nutbags, you've got them. Then you've got your more sort of grunty foot soldiers who are just armed with sort of sword and shield and no armor.
Yeah. Now here's the bit to blow your mind, Lloyd. You see that guy we're looking at?
Which one? This one?
Yeah. He came off an FDM printer, a filament printer.
What?
Filament? Yeah.
Really?
So that's generally the lower res over resin.
Yeah.
Honestly, the way the filament printers work, you'll see the lines a lot more because you can't get it quite so fine.
Yeah, for the stepping, I believe.
Yeah. But if they've got that out of a filament printer, that's amazing. And of course, you could use a resin bath printer on these and get them even finer. Oh, speak of the devil.
But this has supports, Justin. I don't know what you were saying about.
You lied to us.
Read it. It says this is entirely optional.
All right. Oh, for people
in bold.
For people who don't trust it.
What? Read something on the internet? Are you crazy?
Well, that's why these things have pictures. That's why he gets very annoyed if we don't include big pictures in the end of the week. So
I will say I love the look of these. They are very characterful.
Yeah, the leader of the elite orcs that we're looking at right now, who has twice the intelligence of any of the other orcs, because as you can see, he's got two heads.
Yeah,
makes sense to me. Why is he in charge? Smarter than the rest of us.
And the laziness in me likes the fact that they already come on the cobbled street.
Well, the next image actually shows you've got three options.
Yeah.
So you can do it no base, flat base, or full base.
I would just put them on the full base and just go.
I've done.
Done.
Although it means if you are playing games that have specific bases, you don't have to worry about chopping things off. You just print without, or even just the flat base. Depending on how they've scaled it, will probably fit into those lip bases that take base toppers.
Yeah, now Lloyd, before you go too far, scroll up a little bit. There's something really important in the paragraph just above you.
Oh, words
it actually tells you the profile they used for Cura to get that result. So all of the settings and stuff to actually get that from an FDM printer.
So is that set specifically for these models, or is this just a set of settings, do you think?
Fat Dragon Games Minis profile for Cura, so I'm guessing it'll work for any miniatures.
Where am I looking at? You see this?
Just how to print minis.
Yeah, how to print minis, second paragraph is telling you
Where do I get the? Oh, obviously I have to back to Kickstarter.
Well, you see, I don't know. I think you could maybe actually look up the profile and find it.
It's sweet anyway. Is this again off the?
That's off an FDM.
But they are big minis, which helps.
Yeah.
Chunky is good.
Yeah, but you also get like a free arcade machine with it. And they actually ran it off on an FDM printer, and it is so smooth. It's ridiculous.
Where's that? Is it further on down?
It's further on down. There you go.
There you go there. Warg the Orcs, you two can play at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I've just checked.
Ta-da.
fatdragongames.com, and you can just download the Cura Slicer profile for the Krelity Ender 3/5 and the CR6, CR10, 3D printers. But anyway, yeah. So
basically, plug and play, Gerry.
Just a download there.
Yeah, and they do trees.
Yeah, and again, because they've funded, they've got a chunky batch of stretch goals that they're sort of working their way through there. So that fella in particular is he looks a bit punk, shall we say?
Yeah.
So good for possibly Blood Bowl teams.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah. It's a lovely looking set of stuff. The trees are different. I suppose it's because we've seen a lot of haunted tree style trees like that, but without the foliage on it.
I think they're leaning into the arcade thing, though.
Yeah.
At that point, I assume, because they're going for sort of an 80s retro thing here as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're leaning into the side scroller type aesthetic for the trees.
I'm digging it.
So if I go back up to the trees, it's video game looking, if you know what I mean, is what I think they're after there.
Yeah, like old school platformer style there.
Yeah.
So yeah, they are absolutely terrific, and they've done some really nice stuff in the past as well. So if that sort of wets your juices, you can always go and have a look at some of their previous sci-fi and fantasy models.
The best thing is, with it being STLs, you have no delivery time really.
Yeah, but it sucks to be old, Justin. Gerry, you're old, mate. You're old.
I am old.
We're gonna have. Well, look at the grey hair that's coming on me. We're going to have to pick up another hobby at this rate because...
Excuse me, grey?
That may just be the amount of fumes coming off your resin bath 3D printery things that you're lurking over.
So I just bleaching the sides?
Yeah.
That's it. But we went through our 3D printing section and we managed to go one Kickstarter before we were back on 3D printing again.
No, they were both 3D printing.
Oh, they were both 3D printing. I'm so old.
Don't worry, Heresylabs have us covered. They will still supply real physical miniatures like those ones I showed you.
I don't get why some people find 3D printing so difficult.
Because I don't want to have to learn another hobby of my life.
Yeah, and on that note, let's wrap this show up because we've got another show coming to you guys on Sunday called the XLBS, where we're going to be looking at our own hobby stuff and hobby stuff that you've been doing and possibly a juicy topic. And Warren's going to probably tease us all with some sort of brain teaser that everyone's going to spend a week trying to work out. Apparently, according to the radio show that was on Wednesday night, people have solved it but don't realize how they've solved his puzzle this week. So they're not getting any XP because they can't show their homework for working it out. And I think he's going to gloat if that continues to be the case.
I'm not good with brain teasers, so I think I'm going to say I'm out of this episode.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to take part in the fun and games that is the Sunday show, the XLBS, come on over to OnTableTop.com. Swing! And if you want to help support what we do here, go to store.ontabletop.com, swing, and buy some of the shit that we talk about. Hey, that'll keep the lights on. Hey, and until next week, happy gaming, folks.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.